Mr. Okechukwu, he's talked about 10,000, a cleaner going home with about 10,000 per day. There's also the issue of minimum wage. Someone just tweeted here that the least a civil servant should earn should be 100,000 naira. Do you think a review, besides the activities of the ICPC and other anti-graft agencies, a review of the structure, would it make any difference on the psyche and the activity of the civil servant?
And the little I know we are trying to do is that we're looking at the pension scheme, on how to harness the pension scheme to provide a feedback mechanism and a fallback mechanism for civil servants. What do we mean by that? The pension scheme has a fund of over 5 trillion naira. And we're saying what has been done in the UK, in the United States, in other parts of advanced countries of the world, is to provide shelter, provide post-retirement succor or safety net for these civil servants. Because if you come and sit down there and increase the salaries to 100,000 for everybody, the inflation today is already a runaway inflation. So the nature of the inflation and the character of the inflation we are going to witness will also erode those funds you're talking about.
Sorry, if I may come in here, dude, what if the salaries of the big men, the directors and public servants, their salaries are reduced and shared amongst the lower cadre? Would that still affect inflation?
Let me tell you what the former Prime Minister of Britain told us when he visited Nigeria in 2004. He had a session with the then President Obasanjo, and after which he said he's going to meet the opposition. So waited for him at Hilton Hotel, and he came in about 1 a.m. We were led by Barabe Musa, the chairman of the Conference of Nigerian Political Parties. And in the course of discussion, he told us, he said, him, Tony Blair, like every other human being, has some content or greed contents to acquire more money than he could have needed. But what happened in Britain is that if he lives as a prime minister, he will not be in want. And even the ordinary British, if he's 60 years and above, there are 7 safety nets that have been provided that he doesn't even pay for the train ride. He doesn't pay for the bus ride. He has little to pay for Medicare. That because of those provisions, you had no need to go out of your way to start catering for yourself. So, under the manifesto of the All Progressive Congress, we are looking at the social safety nets. What do we think that will make the average civil servant or the average Nigerian not to be panicky that when he leaves office, he will not be paid his pension, he will not be paid his gratuity, he will not have shelter over his head. Assuming the kids are all abroad and they don't care about the old man or the old lady, how would the old lady have comfort? This is what we are planning. We're not planning to infuse the economy with unnecessary funds. We're planning to say what has happened somewhere else. The Nigerian state or the Nigerian people were not different from other humanities of this earth. So we're now looking into why Mrs. Oyebune, who worked as an accounts clerk in pension fund, how come that she amassed $500 and something thousand in her account? That is what we are trying to stop. We're not saying that increases did not help, but we have also found ourselves in a situation where even the 18,000 naira had not been paid in certain states for several months. So in trying to do an aggregation, you have to also look at all the indices and try to look at tomorrow. The tomorrow we're looking at is a tomorrow where whoever is doing whatever is doing in Nigeria will have access to shelter, the basic minimums that guarantee safety at old age. Otherwise, if we don't look at that, then we will be trying to cause more confusion. So Mr. President had even asked for the documents that concerns the pension fund. He wants to know how much, because he's also very interested in creating employment. is interested in advancing agriculture, modernizing it. So we cannot do all this when we hand over pay packets that is not in sync with the realities of the economic situation.
Okay.
So all the Nigerian people need, as Sister Miriam said, and my brother Tokumbo said, is that all the relevant frameworks of the law are in place. Even back to the Nigerian Police Act. A lot of people have not looked into what is Police Act saying. What is the ICPC saying? What is the EFC saying? What is the Code of Conduct? The Code of Conduct on Section 5 queries conflict of interest. It's not even only receiving cash, but other gratifications that a civil servant could be immersed in. And if you find that some people are taking gratification that is not due for what they are worth, or because of the service being rendered, in fact, all the paragraphs in the ICPC Act is about gratification outside receiving money. But a lot of people think that corruption is just receiving money. Corruption is a situation where somebody who is in Federal Ministry of Works or State Ministry of Works, you have a road that is of more importance in terms of traffic, in terms of agricultural produce or hauling of goods. You say, okay, no, I will leave that road. It didn't pass through my village. You recommend the one that is passing through your village. Yes, your village is very important, but at the same time, the priority is what guides good governance. If you don't place priority where it is supposed to be placed, you will have more problem in your hand because the society is not found only on their own whims.
Okay.
And caprices.
Let's look at thank you.
Yes.
We'll come back to you. Hadia,
Yeah.
Yes.
he's talked about the issue of shelter. I mean, growing up, we heard things like Federal Housing Authority, Federal Housing Estates. We had State Housing Estates where civil servants, and mostly civil servants, lived in these areas. Someone just tweeted here something about the FCDA, that's in Abuja. The FCDA and, I'm trying to get that, and Aegis need to be investigated for all land issues scams.
Yes.
Then another person talks about how 80% of your salary goes towards house rent in not just Abuja, in other parts of the country.
Absolutely.
Would a look at the housing structure, a restoration of the federal housing schemes and state housing schemes, would that in any way help in this war?
Of course, of course. We are talking about corruption and we are focusing on the civil servant. But when you look at it, this setting itself encourages corruption. When you have people who are earning not more than 15,000, 20,000 naira a month, and they have to live as far as Karo, I'm using Abuja as example now, and they are working in the federal secretariat, then the transportation alone have taken a chunk of their money. If there is a housing system that is closer to where you work, that also reduces it. But again, they have to go far because that's where they can get affordable accommodation. So the whole system is itself is not set in a way where they can that encourages healthy working environment. So when they are stuck, these people again, their children has to be in the school where they live. So now, leaving your child behind in a distance like that and you come to work, as a parent, you can be called for emergencies sometimes. You have to travel again across the whole city, going back to where you live to do certain things for your child and then come back to work. All of these things, sometimes they don't have the money. And there you are every day. People comes to the director, they dangles money, before you, and you have to see files. You are made to carry files that a lot of money. They are stealing. They are taking it home. How long can you remain sane?
The files will tend to disappear from
absolutely time to time. You try to have your own way of hiding things and then let that little money come to you too. These are all the things we need to do. Let us have appropriate housing system. And I will say that we can't start by, let us wait till they build this or that. There are empty houses. I will tell you as high as 60% houses in the town of Abuja are empty. Let's take that house from those people, because if you use your own money, your hard-earned money, as we say in the developed world, your hard-earned money, you use it to build a home, a house, and more than 3-4 years, it's not being used. No money coming in from what you have put out there. It's because it's a stolen money. You didn't have any feelings for it. So we should take over this house and let these folks who are living very far come and live in them while we settle the case. It's empty. Let us have a system that now allocate people. Live here for 1 year while we are working on those who have these houses. How did you get it? Now you'll be making your case in court. If the government or the law decided that you didn't have the house is not yours, it's illegally acquired, now these folks can now be given at a cheaper rate to live there. Just like we confiscated things, how we do auction and let them have it, because it is unfair. So all of these things put together is what is enabling corruption.